Muchos de los problemas que tenemos.
Many of the problems we face are cultural problems.
Organizaciones criminales en todo.
Because there's so much organized crime.
En una cultura donde hay corrupción.
Among a culture where there is so much corruption, what happens is that people start trying to find an easy way of making money.
Petroleum and narcotics brought easy money.
When people seek after money, they become corrupt.
Colombia ha pagado un precio alto.
Colombia has paid a great price in deaths, blood,
murder, bombings.
Many widows, orphans.
Many people are kidnapped.
Corruption was so deep-seated, people thought there is no other way.
So it became something cultural here.
For many years, what we did in our country was to close and lock the door, throw away the key and forget about them. We thought they were just monsters that we could not change.
No dignity in the prisons. Prostitution, gambling, drugs.
Life was of no value here.
Las muertes violentas.
We were having a prisoner murdered daily, one a day at least.
Prisoners in the past here in Colombia kill people. They cut off their heads and play football with their heads.
There was a problem with the water sewage. They found there was a head skull in the sewer system.
And even the prisoners were armed. Those bullet holes there in the windows were because of a riot and violence that happened.
Because of the money that was flowing in the prisons, it developed so much corruption amongst the guards.
Guards are in prison too.
The guards actually were the bad people.
And their hearts are very hard too.
The guards were the problem.
A lot of guards treat prisoners as slaves.
Este estudio encontramos.
We did a study and found out that our prison system was the most corrupted of all in our institutions in the Colombian government.
The solution for Colombia is in the cultural change. In fact, it's a solution for every country.
LaRed Business Network es una organización de entrenamiento.
LaRed Business Network is a training organization.
LaRed is really a transformation organization
which is teaching people in principles and values in order to transform a culture.
Prosperity is directly linked to character.
We reproduce what we are, not what we say.
Business prospers under the right culture.
If you have a system that is built upon murder, you're going to reproduce murder. If you have a system that is built upon character, you're going to reproduce character.
Character is a behavior that becomes self-governed.
Nuestra estrategia son.
Our main strategy are the round tables.
The round table is a time where it's 1 hour a week.
Small settings where people can get together and discuss a specific principle.
It's 5 or 6 or 7 associates.
Por eso fue que me timbró el celular. So right now what we are doing is reading the principle for this week. Then, in order to understand the principle, there's an activity.
And they are talking right now about how to listen.
When I experience actually doing something, I can understand it much quicker.
We also talked about how we feel when we are interrupted.
And then they measure themselves, how they feel that principle works in them.
My weakness in this principle is that sometimes I don't appreciate or value others.
And it's a discovery.
We learn from each other.
It started as business, with business principles to business people, but it can be to anybody.
The biggest program up to this moment is the Impact program.
Sistema penitenciario en Colombia.
The prison system in Colombia realized that they had to change their culture.
First I thought, prisons, we are not in the prison ministries.
Dr. Karina was the first person to see that you don't change a prison system with bricks.
LaRed nos daba una.
LaRed brought a proposal that caught our attention, because they were proposing a change that was starting from the person and from the inside out.
The program, they are not rejecting because we begin talking about principles and values.
comenzamos a hacer inmersiones.
We started doing what we called immersions with the administrative personnel and guards.
Para cambiar una cultura,
A real culture transformation starts with the leaders.
One of the fascinating things about this story, this true transformation, it was not the prisoners that we were working with.
Most programs focus on the reformation of the prisoner. That's why we have reform schools or reformatories. We reform the prisoner. They had agreed to train 11,000 of those guards to see if they could change the spirit of the system.
And they would start the training of all the other guards.
And then that caught on. And so when the guards went through the program, it changed the guards so much that the prisoners said,
I want what you have.
They started writing letters to the director of the prisons
Begging and asking him that they wanted to receive the same program.
because they were witnessing a different treatment for them.
We saw guards asking forgiveness in front of our eyes.
Then it wasn't a matter of building new buildings, it was a matter of changing the heart. And that was why LaRed was brought in as part of this Compromiso project.
I ended up stealing a car.
I am here because of falsification of documents and money laundering.
I was a salesman of drugs.
I was sent here because of kidnapping.
Incluso llegamos a un punto.
It came to a point where we would allow one prisoner to come in and join the training that was going on.
From there, they started talking out these principles among the other prisoners.
One prisoner, he began by his own in 8 blocks.
Iniciamos con 56 personas.
We started with 56 people that were brought from the different cell blocks. Each one of them became a leader because Project Commitment, in reality, started changing the way they were thinking.
con este programa a 24,000 internos,
we were able to create a strategy to take the principles to 24,000 prisoners.
This morning, we were just opening the program to this prison center for women.
Esta mañana cuando Jesús preguntaba,
This morning, as Jesus asked the question, how many of you would like to change?
Pregunto, ¿quiénes realmente quieren cambiar aquí?
In them there is a real deep pain.
En el día de hoy fue algo muy maravilloso en mi vida.
What happened today was something very beautiful here in the prison for women in Bogota.
But what will really set people free is that people will learn another way of thinking.
We have found that it's very important to have a foundation and how important are principles.
Because the principles we had on the street were just to make people pay, sometimes to pay with blood.
Entonces, cuando uno cae en ese tipo de extremos,
So when you get to that extreme, what happens is that you become an extremely excessive person.
Because of the evil I've done to many people. So all that evil came back to me.
Si yo hubiese sabido.
Had I known these principles before, let's say, 9 years ago, I would not be today here if I had known this before.
They understood that what they had sown in life is what they were reaping in life. Some of other principles are like honesty, integrity, morality.
One of the ones that touch me the most is savings.
So many people think, why are you teaching saving in a prison?
If we, like the teaching says, if we start to save since we were little, then there would be just a few people that would end up here in prison.
How many of you think that part of your problem in being here has to do with not understanding this principle?
Every day they want more and more and more.
But the truth is what is powerful.
Something that shocked me was the principle of forgiveness.
I have kept in my heart the desire to revenge.
To forgive a family that had done me much harm.
I have for 20 months thought how I could assassinate him.
If you wouldn't have forgiveness, you have to live with something forever.
It's as if you are handcuffed.
Our mind is like a computer. What we're doing is we're giving them a new operating system.
When I understood the principle of forgiveness, I called him. But when he was there on the phone, I told him, "Hey, I am just calling you to let you know that today I can forgive you."
But when I realized how deep this program was, I experienced and said, this is the change I need.
Gracias a ellos.
Thanks to those principles, I'm free.
I mean, something started happening.
And miracles started happening all around, changing lives.
Siento que el cambio...
A change is happening. A change is coming out.
The transformation is so amazing.
Realmente el proyecto Compromiso es...
Project Commitment is a project that changed really the prisoners because it is changing them from the inside out.
There are hundreds of testimonies.
I came up here being 18 years old. I am glad God rescued me here.
And this place where you think there is no hope, I have found the courage and the strength to move forward.
I would like to say that I have received from LaRed something very valuable.
This has been the best years of my life because Jesus Christ rescued me from the life I was living.
I believe it has been the most valuable thing I have received in my 50 years of life.
And Karina, oh wow, what a change in her life.
Una mañana...
One day, I realized I was trying to fight for a relationship that was not healthy.
It was a metamorphosis.
I learned and realized that the seed you sow will produce a harvest.
People that have walked in those principles 40 weeks later are transformed and they become then the change agent.
No estaba bien. Incluso tomé...
And I even took the step to stop any sexual relationship with him. We have taken the program to 28 prisons. Why am I telling this to you? So that you will feel a part of something that's really big.
We're 8 generations deep in a transformation story.
It's not something small here in Bogota.
Business people began training business people. They were invited by the government for business leaders to train government leaders. Then the government leaders began training the prison officials. Prison officials began training the guards. The guards trained the prisoners trained the other prisoners, and then they had an impact on their family.
No tengo la más mínima duda.
I think something great is happening. For the last months, we have not had homicides or crime inside the prisons.
What's happening in the prison, it's just a simple statistic that we can see of something much bigger.
The families get changed, and now the whole community, the small village, sees a change in this family, and all of a sudden they want it.
Los asesinatos en Colombia.
Crime and violence in Colombia has dropped drastically.
It was the rebirth of a nation.
Colombia has a story to tell.
I believe that we've seen transformation take place in a prison that can take place anywhere.
Around the world, what's happening, these doors are opening.
Because they see it's a culture change for the betterment of their country.
Before we would train 100, now nations are asking us to train tens of thousands.
You can go anywhere in the world right now because there's such a need.
You can see the impact this can have all the way through the realms of society.
It will change the world.